Today we're going to be working on surface layering, one of the most used layering techniques I do in the salon every day. I can go from really short to really long, really connect every piece on the head. Gives you a lot of freedom to like bounce around and use different techniques, scissors, razors, slicing techniques, PC, depending on the density and the texture that you might find with them. Opens up the world. Honestly, if you just had this layering technique, you probably don't even need another layering technique. There's definitely, say, learn more. You can make an entire career off of layering with this technique and this technique alone. I use it more than any other technique in the salon. Perfect for the undone hair that I do behind the chair. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. Let's get right into it. Make this your own and have some fun with it. All right, so I wet her down. I have a little bit of a cutting agent. I have a little bit of spray gel in there. I'm just combing her out and popping in her natural texture. That's really important to the undone style that I do. Then I'm gonna section out kind of a guide section in the back center for balance, about the size of the comb. That's the kind of sections that I work with, because anything smaller than that is too easy to invert the section, meaning making it longer from one section to the next. So I'm trying to stay balanced. Even though I'm taking sections about the size of the comb, I'm going to stay very, very center of that section. So I always have balance as I walk through the head. All my hairdressing is very visual. I'm going to be using entrance point, exit point. Entrance point has to do with how high I want the layering pattern when it drops. So notice I'm not cutting really far away from it. All of my layering pattern stays just above shapefall. Shapefall is where I want that to work. I want that to live. I want it to be where it's gonna style there. That's where shapefall is. Cutting should be for shapefall, not some esoteric idea of where the hair, I need to pull the hair because of natural fall. Exit point has everything to do with how much weight we want there, so we have to pick an exit point. So I can also go up and down. So if I want to stay real surface, I'm going to come way out here, and if I want to come down here and get deep into the end, so I'm really thick hair, I'm going to come down and really crank into that exterior shape and really manipulate that weight. Using that razor and just find that butter point and then butter it off. And notice I came right to me, I'm pulling that tension right to me, everything's really soft. I take a look. If you're not looking at every single section, you're not learning anything. Taking the entire top section of the guide and kind of turning that one section over. Basically, you would think about it as a pie, right? Moving it over one section. This is all the hair that's gonna be cut because this is the layering right there on the head. So I know that in my hand, I'm holding the layering. And I'm also holding a touch of the length, but that's more to make sure that I don't cut any of it and I know where I'm cutting to, so I know I can find my exit point. All right, I have some previous hair in there. I don't care to match that. I don't want like super square ledges all through my haircut, even though I'll probably be the only one that can see it because it'll be so light with the razor, but I'll know it's there and that will drive me crazy. Get in that vicinity and start to surface off and melt that hair off. And then once again, when I'm done, drop and look at the layering pattern that I'm getting and where my curls are. So I'm gonna have a tendency, if this is thicker, move on top of it on square on the side. If it's thinner, I'm gonna have a tendency to invert back to the back part of that section, just to create a little more weight going forward towards the face. It will change automatically with me. I don't have to think about it too much, but when you're thinking about it, like you wanna lean heavily on, when it's thicker, you wanna cut it more towards the front of that section. That's what she's gonna see from the front. And then if it's thinner, you wanna invert it back to the back of that section, maybe even to the previous section, just to create as much weight behind the ear as possible because there's no hair growing out of the scalp there. So just for the video's sake, I'm gonna stay center of the section again. This mannequin has no hair anyway. And then I'm just gonna repeat on the other side. This is a brand new mannequin, so I don't want to take a lot, but if I wanted to come up a little higher, I could, and then we would get a little more volume up top. Still, I would be really surface. I don't want to create too much weight there because it'll jump up really easy and get into a ledge just because of the round of the head there. And then surface that down softly, just moving that, watching every single section. All right, I'm gonna move into her stronger side first. So just a slight diagonal forward. It's more vertical than anything else. And then the same thing. With thicker hair, I'm going to be center section. With thinner hair, I might be inverting back to the back of the section. Or I might choose to make a static guide here and do an inversion all to that point and cut the whole front at one time. There's a lot of decision making here depending on the density. For today's sake, we're just gonna travel that through in verticals through the front. So here on this section, because the hairline comes up, you can also raise the layering pattern up slightly to kind of make the layers move up and give a more balance throughout the haircut. I'm not a big fan of just taking whatever length I have here and moving it all the way through. You really need to think about what's going to happen to the head shape and the hair style as you move through with your cutting. So I am inverting this section slightly because this mannequin's getting fine really quick, and I don't want to get in the way of my forward graduation there in the front. Like, I don't want to end up manipulating my weight line around the front. So one more time, I'll just check this. I'm going to invert to the exact same static guide as I did before, and then just surface off just some weight right there at the top, just to make sure that all of that is layered and layered nicely. Taking a diagonal forward on the other side, staying center of section. This is the weak side, so I can come up a little bit more with my layering just to make it match the other side. And then one last section coming through to the front. Because the face rounds a little bit, I'm always going to invert this section to the back of my section. Kind of working that hair through a little bit, getting it roughed up, getting a little playfulness with the hands. I want that soft, undone feel. I want to see what her hair is going to look like when she just lets the hair dry. And then if I notice anything that I need to take out, like if this front is too weighty, I know that when I come in with my dry cut, I can attack it. Or if maybe I got in here and I was like, okay, I want a little more layers on the side, I can pop a few dry just on that surface with just the surface of the part, just to get that hair some volume and some movement, a little bit of life and texture. All right, we'll dry this off. Put a couple clips in here to keep that bang holding back, and now I'll just kind of diffuse that. All right, guys, that's that finished look. This is surface layering. As you can see, there's no levels, there's no chunks, it's just surface layering. You can see the volume and the popping from that. I blow dried that really loose, a little salt spray diffuser, clips in a couple spots to get some bend, right? Just over drying, right? If you want that undone, loose, like lived in hair, you gotta dry past dry. Just keep going until that casting softens back up. The casting is kind of what the product does. It makes it kind of candy coated and it feels a little hard. So just dry past that and then scrunch in your hands afterwards. You can put a little mousse in, a little dry spray of some sort, like for volume. You can get in a little tacky powder, right, to get volume and a little movement and kind of style it out. The world's your oyster. You can kind of take a few of these spots and iron them out for like a slightly more kind of cleaner look. Like just clean it up a little bit. Don't feel the need to like iron out every single hair on the head. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in technique, we forget to like look at the style that we're building, right? And to put shapes and stuff on them that are going to work for them day to day. Be subtle with your styling and make it beautiful. That's the key. It's not to be too done. Too done is really harsh on the eye. Trying to make them more beautiful, relying on your eye, your expertise, and what sets you apart as a hairdresser is always a winning game plan for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the shape. That's always a fun one for me in the salon every day. Go back into your salons, get after it. I hope you're as excited as I am about this technique. Take it in there and develop that eye. If you have questions, leave them down in the comment section. I'm happy to answer them for you. Best of luck. Enjoy this haircut. Get in the salons and create some magic.